Today's story is about a 17-year-old girl who managed to survive not only a fall from over 10,000 feet after her plane broke apart, but also survived 11 days in one of the most dangerous jungles in the Amazon, despite being severely injured and having no food. Despite weather warnings and other airlines canceling flights that day, the pilots decided to depart Lima, Peru on Christmas Eve in 1971. After a frustrating 7-hour delay, the flight took off with 92 passengers on board. Among them, 17-year-old Juliane Koepcke and her mother. Ahead of them, a massive thunderstorm waited. According to Juliane, 10 minutes into the flight, it was obvious that something was very wrong. There was heavy turbulence, and the plane was bucking up and down. Parcels and luggage were falling from the lockers. Gifts, flowers, and Christmas cakes were flying around the cabin. Then they saw lightning hit around the plane. Juliane was scared. She and her mother held hands but could not speak from fear. The other passengers were crying and screaming, knowing the horror that was about to happen. Lightning struck again, but this time it hit the outer engine on the left. Her mother's last words were a calm, "That is the end. It's all over." The plane went into a nosedive. It was pitch black and people were screaming. At an altitude of approximately 21,000 feet, the plane broke apart. A conscious Juliane Koepcke remained secured in her window seat, attached to the two seats next to her, free-falling, scared, and feeling all alone. One can only imagine how that must have felt, thinking she was about to fall to her death. She saw the canopy of the jungle spinning and getting closer and closer. There was nothing she could do about it. She lost consciousness and does not remember anything about the impact. Fortunately for Juliane, the seats were rotating at great speed, acting like a helicopter, which softened the speed of the fall, while the dense Amazon rainforest canopy cushioned her ultimate impact and protected her from being severely injured. Juliane woke up the next day and her first thought was, "I survived a plane crash." She shouted for her mother but could not find her. The fall left her with a broken collarbone, deep cuts on her legs, and a ruptured ligament in her knee. Remarkably, she was still able to walk. Having lost her glasses, she was severely short-sighted and could not see far. She only had on her a very short sleeveless mini dress, a bag of sweets, and one shoe, which she decided to keep to test the ground ahead. She could hear the planes overhead searching for the wreck, but it was a very dense forest and she couldn't see them. To survive, she used what her parents had taught her. They were zoologists, and she had spent 6 months with them while they did research just 30 miles away. She learned a lot about life in the rainforest. The first thing she did was feel her way slowly to find a source of water, because she knew it would be safer there, making sure there were no snakes disguised as dry leaves. She found a small creek and followed it. Her days were not easy. She only had a bag of sweets as food and nothing else. She was afraid of starving, hot during the day, and endured several rainstorms. She was extremely cold at night, wearing only her sleeveless mini dress, wounded and afraid. On the 4th day, she heard the call of a king vulture, and she knew that this kind of bird only lands when there is a lot of dead and putrefying flesh, and that it was most probably the dead bodies from the crash. She knew it was time to change her path. Walking ahead in the creek, she rounded a corner only to find a bench with 3 passengers rammed headfirst into the earth. She stood there paralyzed from shock. It was the first time she had seen a dead body. Her first thought was of her mother. She could not help but get closer to see if she was one of them. Juliane took a stick to touch the corpse. Then she noticed that she had her toenails painted, something her mother never did. She subconsciously felt relief, and then a wave of shame swept over her for feeling that way. By her 10th day, she could no longer move properly, starving and alone. Her upper right arm became infested with maggots 1 centimeter long. As she was drifting by the side of a larger river she found, she noticed a large boat. At first, she thought she was hallucinating, but when she touched it and made sure it was real, she felt a rush of adrenaline. Then she saw a small path that led to a hut with an outboard motor and a liter of gasoline. She remembered that she saw her father once use kerosene on a dog that had the same infection as her. She sucked up the gasoline and put it on the wound. The pain was unbearable as the maggots tried to hide by crawling deeper into her. She removed 30 maggots. After that, she decided to spend the night inside the hut. By morning, she woke up to the sound of several men talking. She recounted that it was like hearing the voices of angels. The workers were stunned, at first mistaking the blonde, pale teenager for a mythical water spirit. After she introduced herself and explained what happened in Spanish, they treated her wounds, gave her something to eat, and took her back to the populated area. Her days of surviving alone, not knowing if she would make it to another day, had finally come to an end. The day after her rescue, she finally saw her father. He could barely speak. They could only hold each other for those first moments. Her father kept searching for her mother, but unfortunately, they found her dead on January 12th. It turned out she also survived the crash, but was severely injured and could not move, and died several days later. As it turns out, she was not the only one that met the same fate. There were 14 other passengers who reportedly survived the initial fall from the aircraft, but died due to the remote location of the Amazon rainforest and delayed rescue efforts. Juliane Koepcke became the sole survivor of the disaster. More than 50 years later, her story remains one of the most extraordinary survival stories ever recorded.